Oh, good evening, and hello, Majenko. So a bit of a change to the announced schedule this week, in that the parts for the RGB to HDMI have not arrived in time, but more of that later. So we are having an hour of desoldering DRAM on the VT240. But first, I realised during the intro that I have forgotten to announce this on the Fediverse, so give me one moment whilst I do that. Sorry about this, folks. I have not. Right, okay, so back with us. Yes, that's a probably fitting the industrious end, thank you. Right, so yes, the VT240, again, still never free of this thing. Let's switch over to the secondary cam a second. So we have the main DRAM bank along this side of the board, not that side of the board. We have here the chip that I replaced last week because it was dragging down the AD15 line, or DA15 rather. And there are also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 others that I've replaced because it turns out it was failing a memory test with 6 stuck bits. Having replaced those, it passes the memory test on 8 whole words of RAM and then fails again because one of these chips that I haven't yet desoldered is dragging down the A7 line to the DRAM. So basically you only have 8 yeah, so every 8 bits it sort of repeats itself. So I have one replacement DRAM chip in stock, but I only have 3 DIP16 sockets in stock. More sockets are on order. They're in with the RGB to HDMI bits which haven't arrived yet. So what we're going to do is, because it's that line is shared between all of these, I cannot figure out which one is the issue. There's no noticeable difference in voltage on the line anywhere across it, which is sort of the one thing you're looking for. One of them will be pulling it down, and then the resistance to the others means that will be the the lowest voltage will be the one that's pulling it down. But unfortunately, the difference is about 10 millivolts from one end to the other, which isn't much use. So we're just going to have to desolder all 9 of these remaining chips, put sockets in, and then swap them in and out until we find the dead one. There might be more than one dead one, who knows. So yeah, we're going to get on with that. Hi Matt, how are you doing? I mean, it might be. The problem is testing it. The power supply is over there, and you have to... It takes up the entire end of the table to test the thing. So I'm just going to pull them all. At this point, 7 out of 16 have failed. Well, 8 out of 16 have failed. 7 have been replaced. So I might as well socket the whole lot. Because there's at least one more dead one, so 50% of them are dead. Maybe we'll find one chip and then it'll pass the test. Maybe we won't. Then once that's done, we of course have over the other side of the board round. Let's not knock the microphone over. Let's turn the board around. We have 8. These are 16K, 8 64K by 1 DRAMs here for the video RAM. So I've ordered enough sockets, not only to replenish my stock because I use a lot for System 1, but enough to do those. So all of these and those, and all of the DRAM on the motherboard of the Rainbow if that's not socketed. So yeah, let's get to it. I have not left myself enough room to work here really with a glass of water. One moment. Put that down here. So yeah, the RGB to HDMI parts isn't... Well, it's half my fault and it's half Mauser and FedEx having let me down. I wanted to order the parts... I've not parked up. I wanted to order the parts at the weekend, but I spent a while investigating this and discovered the issue with more chips, so I needed more sockets. So I thought, well, let's put those in the order. And I was so tired by Monday evening when I'd finished all this lot that I thought, sod it, I'll do it tomorrow. And then when I looked on Tuesday lunchtime, unfortunately the deadline for same day shipping had passed, so it actually shipped on Wednesday, or it was picked on Wednesday, and then they sat on it and didn't ship it until Thursday. And then FedEx sat on it for, well, first thing Thursday their time, and then FedEx sat on it for 12 hours and it finally started moving. I think it left Tennessee on a plane about 6 hours ago, so 7 hours maybe. It might have reached Stansted by now, but they're saying it'll be here on Tuesday, so that's great. And then we'll get on with the RGB to HDMI once I have those in hand. So that is now warmed up. Let's find some solder. There's some solder. And we just want to nip along all of these that I haven't yet touched and put some fresh solder on the joints. Make it a bit easier to desolder them. Whoops. Why is that not going through the loop? Come on. There we go. Right, so here we go. Why is my soldering iron not... 350 on... This is where I need better light in here. Why is that not? Well, we're off to a flying start here. No, I think the either the plug or the socket at the base station under my iron is acting up, so that's excellent, that is. There we go. Of course, these great big fat traces carrying the power are not too bad to deal with apart from spotting the pin hiding in the middle of it. The bigger problem with these, I think it's the ground pin, pin 16, which goes through to a solid layer in the middle, which is an absolute nightmare. So the technique here is to get as much solder as you can out with a desoldering pump and then just hit the board with hot air until the chip gives up and comes out. But once you get into a rhythm, it's not too bad. I think it was 5 on Monday in about half an hour, so this will be slower because obviously I am lick it to test it. Yes, thank you, Majenka. That sounds like a brilliant plan. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Yeah, so as Majenka pointed out in my very first stream, I think it was, everything takes about twice as long as you expect when you're streaming, even if you account for that, I suspect. So we'll see how far we get with this. And then once the sockets arrive on Monday or Tuesday, it says Tuesday, FedEx lately have generally been a day pessimistic in my experience, which means that you get to play, are they going to be a day pessimistic this time, or are you going to wait in on the day you expect it to arrive and it doesn't, and then you can't complain because they said it would be the next day anyway? Or do you go out for the day and miss the delivery, which is excellent fun, of course. But yeah, once those arrive, I can fit all of those, and then maybe, just maybe, this thing will pass its memory test. But yeah, last weekend I did some more digging with the logic analyzer and managed to convince it to show me all memory accesses but suppress the listing during the execution of the subroutine we identified that was in charge of sending stuff to the keyboard, which helped because it meant I could then find how far into the hi Chloe. Yes, I used to get stuff sent to the office for obvious reasons, but Amazon in particular like to try and deliver stuff outside the hours, even if you fill in the form that says these are the hours of operation at this address. And then a while ago they sent out a plea, sorry we're getting too many parcels, please could you stop this. And I think that might have been during the earlier in the pandemic when they were having a lot of building work done. Whoops, bridged those two. They changed what used to be the reception area into, or used to be the reception and social court, into a co-working space, sort of hive type, not hive, WeWork style rentals, which is fine, but it means for a while I had less space in the post room. Yeah, that's one we want to touch. But usually my neighbours are in during the day if I've gone out, so it's not too bad. But it's still annoying to get home and find the "you were out" card. Or knowing FedEx, I think last time I had a delivery from Mauser, might have been the open interface. I must have been in the garage or something, so I missed them. And they left it next door, and they put a card saying they left it next door under my front door, rather than through the letterbox, just under the door. So I didn't see it for 2 days. So that was good fun. But yeah, over the weekend I did some digging with, as I said, with the logic analyzer. Identified how to skip the long routine that was talking to the keyboard and see where it went after that. And it turns out that routine wasn't just initializing the keyboard, it's a general purpose routine for sending self-test status to the keyboard. And it takes a pointer to basically a command packet, which is a series of bytes to send to the keyboard up until it hits a null byte. And then there's a word following that, which isn't necessarily word aligned, so it has to load it in several operations and combine the bytes. And that one tells it what to do next. It has various values which cause the routine to either hang the system in an infinite loop, presumably on a fatal error, which is what it was doing with the error code we were seeing, or various other things, and then return control to the routine that called it. Done a horrible job there. Why? So yeah, it took a bit of figuring out to see what was going on there with the logic analyzer, which can obviously only show you the path that is taken through the code. It can't show you what the branches do otherwise. And it turns out what it's doing is using that word at the end. One value means crash because it's a fatal error. Another value means just carry on. Or another value means sort of return to, or carry on with boot, so go to the main system firmware. And otherwise it just had, if it wasn't any of those, it would just OR the value with the contents of one of the page mapping slot registers for the memory mapping circuitry. So I had no idea what was going on there, because that meant that memory was shifting around during execution, so a bit confusing. So eventually I just disassembled the entire firmware. It spent a while trying various disassemblers, looking for a nice interactive one so you can go through and label stuff as you discover it, sort of geared or IDA style thing. There's someone who claims to have one, but I couldn't get it to work. It was in Java using, what's it called, Maven, the Apache build thing. And I tried building it, and it just didn't produce a workable jar file at all, which is most irritating. So I turned to some much older thing, or just command line thing that just spits out a text file, and just resigned myself to editing it by hand, to putting cross references and such like. And it transpires that what it's doing actually is using one of the slots in the memory map as a bit field to record which tests have passed, and how far it's got during the testing, which is quite clever, because obviously very early on in boot you have no working RAM, so it's just using the memory mapper as a whole word of temporary space. So when I figured that out, worked my way through the first few calls to this routine to see which ones were running and which ones we were halting at, which one we were halting at, and immediately before the halt, it fetches a memory location, compared it to a very suspicious looking value, 12525, complements it, and then compares the result to 05252. And that pattern looks suspicious. More familiar, I think, if you convert it to hex for most people these days. One of them is OXAAAA and one of them is OX5555. So that is obviously a memory test, and what it does is it first fills memory with the all A's, complete DRAM space with all A's, and then it reads it back, and for each one it reads it, checks it does get all A's back, complements it, checks it now reads all 5s, and if either of those fail it's an immediate failure and system halt, with 5 displayed on the keyboard LEDs. So that was obviously what was happening, which was good news. So I took an XOR of the expected value and the read back value from the logic analyzer trace, and that's how I identified 6 stuck bits. Two of them were just showing ramp pulses on the data line, couldn't bring it low or couldn't bring it high, just sort of tried and failed. 2 of them were just not storing the bit at all, and 2 of them sometimes stored the bit and sometimes didn't. They looked a bit sluggish. Well, it might have been sluggishness, it might just have been brokenness. So popping those out and putting replacements in, it passed that test, which got to the following one, and then the way they'd written the test means that it got to checked a word, and it wasn't all A's, it was all 5s already, because the address line was stuck, so it had already been visited by the test earlier. So it was quite a nice, neat little test. It tests all the data lines, tests all the address lines, and because it takes quite a while to run, it takes about 1-2 seconds to fill RAM, it also tests a refresh at the same time. So I like that. I shall have to bear it in mind if I ever write a memory test for System 1, which I probably should do. It currently probes memory size just by looking for the first word in RAM which can't store a value, or first word in the address space which can't store a value, and considers that the end of workable RAM. And it does it in sort of, I think, 1K paragraphs or something. Right, so that's all that done. Let me warm up the Moon machine. Good. We have fitted a smaller nozzle to it, which helps. And let me just catch up with chat for a second. Matt, yes, this is the board that turns into goo when you try to do rework. Yes, it turns out the trick is to be very careful with it. I've done 7 chips without a problem on it now. Either I was being incredibly rough with the first 1 or 2 I did, or having a larger nozzle was a bigger problem, or it could simply be that was already slightly dicky and I just disturbed it too much. But yeah, so the trick is, as I said, crush solder on, desolder as much as you can with the pump, and then whack it with the hot air, and then eventually it gives way. And that reminds me, I need to find my thingy with the thing. No, we'll worry about that in a minute. Let me just finish catching up with chat. Yeah, CCTV is always fun. I don't have it around the front of the house because you get into because it's overlooking the public highway. The regulations are a bit different from the one that I've got over the garage. But yeah, I don't have too much of a problem. Right. God, it's nearly half past already. Right, we might get. Let's get through these. Where are we? Let's get these three out first, because I have 3 sockets, and there's a group of 3, and then 3 groups of 2. So we'll do that and see where we are. Right. No, I prefer doing it that way around. Better visibility. Right, we're up to 350. That really needs a clean. The suction chamber is full of. Yeah. You know what? Right, we'll start. Yep, that one. So the trick is to have a nozzle that just fits over the pin, so it can melt all the solder nicely, and then, oops, and then give it a little wiggle. Not too much of a wiggle, just a little one. And you can feel it actually wiggling around the pin, which is a good sign that you're on target. Let's try that one a bit further. I mean, having working depth perception might be an even better sign you're on target, but unfortunately we play the cards we're dealt, so... Oops. I'll try that one again. No, that is a really a poor job there. Why? Where's the... Is that the right one for this nozzle? Try that some more. better. Right, nice clear holes on those. I wonder whether to go back and touch those up with fresh solder and try again, or maybe not. See where we are with those for a moment. Okay, we'll go back and touch up those middle few where the gun I think was a bit blocked. If you don't have something for it to transfer the heat down, you're just never going to get anywhere, so something on the surface is always useful. The thing is, I don't remember having had this much trouble with depth perception with my old glasses. Maybe I should dig them out. It's been a few years. There was a slight change in my prescription, but I just can't knit the image together as well with these. But anyway, that is 3 done. And hello Cobb, a fart, lovely, thank you. Let me just catch up with chat again. Depth perception is overrated. Well, to some extent. The distance stuff is fine. It's close-up work, it's just annoying. The same desoldering pump. Yeah, this is the ZD915, which sold under a huge number of house labels. So Durat will have one, so on and so forth. But this is, I bought this from a small test equipment supplier over here. who were just selling it under its original model name rather than rebranding it, relabeling it. So that was nice. Oh god, I hope the bot isn't listening here. Yeah, he'll probably not know what to do with himself, Majenko. Reading glasses, yeah, they did mention at my last eye test that it was probably at some point in my reasonably near future I should think about going back for another one, but I'm not really in a position to afford a fresh pair of glasses. But right, where is my pulling thing? One moment. Well, we have a pot of dead ICs. Huh. Aha, there we go. It was behind the laptop, so obvious place for it really when I'm going to be needing it. And where are we looking? We are looking for the hot air gun. What's this set to? 360. Okay, that's fine. So let's just see if any of them are loose yet at all. And the answer is going to be no. The answer is indeed no. So we apply heat to the affected area. Oh, choosing frames is the worst. I've always liked at least, or at most, half rim, because I find having a rim across the bottom of my vision incredibly distracting. So I used to go for very tall lenses if I had to have a full rim. And there were no half frame or half rim frames I like the look of in my optometrist when I got this pair. So I went for these, who were they by? Oakley, completely rimless ones. Several problems there. One is that rimless means the glass has to be drilled, or the lenses have to be drilled to accept the frame, which apparently was a problem if I wanted the incredibly high RI stuff. That was not going to work very well. Am I doing the right one? Yes. So I had to go down a level, which means these are incredibly thick, and also these aren't the frames I'd identified on the website as being the ones I wanted, because these are, I think they call them S for square as opposed to R for rectangular. No movement yet. So they're taller than I expected, which means they're even thicker than I expected. And with that thickness comes some amazing chromatic aberrations I was talking about on, was it Tech Tangent's Discord yesterday. If you have sort of teletext colours, red and blue show up almost on completely different lines. Yellow and green separate themselves slightly, but magenta shows up as two parallel copies of the text, which is quite interesting. Yeah, I know the feeling, Chloe. These are, I think they're titanium, I can't remember. Yeah, it's been a few years. And I'm in no hurry to replace them just yet because they cost a bloody fortune. Because I did feel sorry for my optometrist though. I went for the eye test and they wrote down the prescription. Picked out the frames and then the optometrist raised some concerns that there had been dramatic deterioration in the right, which is the eye I had my first corneal graft on. Well, there hadn't. It had been a long time since my last checkup. It's just for some reason it was considerably better than usual on my previous checkup, so it looked like a bigger deterioration than it was. But he referred me back to the eye hospital to make sure that everything was okay. And in the meantime, they'd made up the glasses to the new prescription, and they arrived, and I went in to collect them, and I couldn't see through them at all. Someone had dropped a digit from the axis for the aspherical or cylindrical component. So they scratched their heads and said, well, we haven't done, or it was a prescription that was written down, so, well, I can't see through it. So that was something like £1,200 worth of glasses that they'd made incorrectly. And then sort of the next day I had my hospital appointment, and they did a refraction and noticed that there was a 1 missing from the start of the angle. And my eye doctor there took one look at the my prescription history and said, oh yeah, the one they hadn't made up will be worse than nothing. So, at least the mystery was solved. Let's not point off the terrible face or the camera. Starting to come. You can't see anything because of the camera angle, sorry. Oh, Scheiße. Well, the socketed one has come loose. Have I killed that socket? One moment. Let's put the good one over here. Let's pop out all the other good ones as well. Well, at least at the top end of the board. Get a closer look at that. What have I done? I think it just walked itself out under the heat. Okay, let's get back to it. Up the airflow a bit. And we are aiming for that. This is one of those things where you don't want to just destroy the board, obviously, so you want to be careful with it, but it didn't feel quite this precarious when I was doing it during the week. I was getting somewhat better results, but it's okay. Obviously I wasn't going to do this on stream, this is just filler because of the missing RGB to HDMI parts, but it's all content, it's just not very good content. Right. Let's try it from the top. In fact, let's not try it from the top, because that's where the IC socket is. And what will happen is the vast majority of the chip will give way quite suddenly, and it'll leave it hanging by the ground pin, because that's the one with the big fat chunky copper plate underneath it. And then it's just a question of whacking that with the heat whilst applying some pressure, and out it'll pop. But once you've got enough heat into the board in the relevant area, the others will start coming out quicker as well. How are we doing for time? 10:02. Okay. Well, I figured 9 was going to be a stretch. I did intend to do the first 3 this morning just to get my eye in again, and then I didn't. So even 6 was going to be a stretch in an hour, but okay, what we're going to do, how can I do this on camera? If I hold that, this looks awkward, but it's not particularly more awkward than what I was doing during the week, so there we go. We can put some tension on the easier to remove pins, and that'll get it started. I mean, realistically, these are all relatively easy traces to repair if something does go horribly wrong, because they're all commoned up apart from the data bits, which I can... There we go. Started to go now. And the data bits can be bodged over to something else, as I've already done several times, so... There's one. And we shall take a sip of water. So, Chloe, was there any explanation for why there was a capital letter E embossed into the glass of your new spectacles? Hot air. This is the 18858D Plus. Bought it years and years ago. At the time, the big thing that was being discussed, I think on the EUV blog forums, which I used to read, was the wiring was sometimes incorrect, and that they would not bond the earth properly. So you had to be a bit careful. So when mine arrived, I had a look, and that was all fine. But the thing that wasn't fine was that it came with a BS1363 mains lead that had a sleeved earth pin, so it was not BS1363 at all. But anyway, unfortunately, I happened not to notice, and it just went into the box of mains leads. Until a few months later when I pulled it out to plug the oscilloscope in the kitchen to test something, and I got a bit of a tingle off the BNC shields on the front of the scope. I thought, hang on, that's not right. And yeah, so it was just leakage through the Y caps or whatever onto the earth, which was not connected. Now, some people would say I should have kept that in case I ever needed to float my scope, and other people would say you should never float your scope, it's the wrong answer. I think both are probably right in some respects. Where are we at? 53, okay. Oh, it's coming. Just need the ground pin. Of course, the problem is once you get to this stage, then the hot air starts coming through the holes that are now clear. Peter, hello. Thanks for the follow there. How are you doing? I'm afraid this is not as exciting as working on an Nova. There we go. That's two done. Well, I haven't used this nozzle much at Majenko on this A10. I tend to use either the small one for very small stuff, or the... Is this the big one? Yes. Or the medium-sized one for heat shrink. Right, we'll do one more. Yeah, so this system is pretty well documented, the design and how... we've got the full schematics for the VT240. The technical manual goes into a lot of detail about how it's all wired up and designed and such like, so that's nice. What we don't have is a commented listing of the firmware. I mean, that's the secret sauce, obviously. So it means a bit of disassembly to work out what's going on, but because it's running a PDP-11, the machine code is fairly pleasant to read. Sorry, I'm cramping my... there we go. Try some more. I do hope that Shelby has not, in the hour before my stream since I last checked Discord, announced that there isn't one today. If there is, we'll just carry on and do the other 6. But almost there. What did I hit there? Yeah, too close to the wood. There we go. Right. So that's 3 chips out. Let's see how bad a mess I've made of the holes. Oh, they're all... I don't think I need to tidy up a single one of those. Excellent. So let me just grab... Yeah, I have the... oh god, what's it called? PCB grip upstairs. I should probably dig it out at some point. Let me just grab the tube of sockets one moment. So last 3 of these, which are from a company called Toby Electronics, who specialise in connectors and, well, mostly connectors actually, and a few other cheap components and such like, but they have their own value range of connectors, or they do Samtec and all the rest of it. And I remember looking at their website thinking this all looks very good. Then I noticed their phone number starts with the same dialing code as mine, and they're about a mile away. As the crow flies across the fields, it's about a mile and a half if you're driving. Oh no, must be less than a mile away in that case. So that was nice, but unfortunately they don't have a trade counter, so you can place orders for pickup if you want to, which I've done a few times. But it was very useful having a supplier of cheap IC sockets in town when I was building the bulk of System 1, which we must get around to looking at on stream at some point. I know Matt will be interested. Why is that not sitting in there? Okay, that one needs some cleaning. Odd, I could see right through it, but... Okay. What time is it? 58. Okay. There we go. Let's get those soldered in. That's never a good thing with Jenko. Right, let's tack some corners down. 1, 6. Shelby's countdown is running, is it? Okay, well, let me just finish off one of these, and then we'll hop over and say hello. Yeah, so what I'm thinking... actually, no, let's stop on that and I'll wrap up. What I'm thinking is RGB to HMI parts here obviously on Monday or Tuesday. I might build up the analog board and the buffer board for it first, and then we can build the board itself on stream on Friday, and then that'll give us something we can look at the output of this, assuming it manages to come to life during the week. We don't know yet. And then we're into sort of rainbow territory. Wow, I've got twice my follower count target there for that. Rainbow territory, and then we can look at System 1 a bit. Rainbow, I still want to wait until I've backed up the disks, which is being a problem. But we can at least turn it on, see if it's alive, and so on. But anyway, thanks for joining me. We'll raid Shelby, because it is Friday, and he will get lonely otherwise, I'm sure. And I shall see you next week.